You were probably at MGM for.
I was MGM with her for the. Oh God! I'll tell you right away. Name of the picture.
I got them too.
Yeah, this one.
There were two. That something woman.
Oh, sugar.
I got them.
No, I got it here somewhere. What the hell happened with it?
One of us.
Oh God! What the...
But you know, the Manchurian Candidate is interesting because it's that Kennedy. It's that whole Kennedy
Naked
thing.
Spur.
Naked Spur. Was that Jimmy Stewart?
Jimmy Stewart. I just had his letter from him. I wrote him a letter. He wrote me the loveliest letter back.
Really?
I said, "Do you remember the picture?" He said, "I sure do." I was the first assistant on it.
I hear he's very low these days.
Yeah, he's not feeling well, but he's a terrific guy.
I don't think he was so good after he lost his wife either.
No, I don't think you're ever the same after that. Nobody.
Because he was an extremely devoted person.
Yeah. Well,
Did you work on Pete Kelly's Blues?
No.
But you worked on the Naked Spur.
Naked Spur.
And how about Houdini?
I didn't work on that.
Okay. Well, that's right, because that was a Lona. That was Universal, wasn't it?
I think it was, yeah.
Scaramouche, Fearless Fagin, Angels in the Outfield.
Angels in the Outfield, right.
Okay, Angels in the Outfield.
1991.
Yeah, 1991. And did you work on Prince Valiant?
I didn't like the Prince.
Yeah. Did you ever work on any of those ones, like the one with Robert Ryan and Van Heflin, Act of Violence?
No. But if I could only think of all the MGM pictures I worked on.
Little Women? Did you work on Little Women? How about...
I worked with the great swimmer.
Esther Williams.
Esther Williams. Yeah. You know, where all the girls come in the water, they go down the thing. It was...
Tell you, Louis B. Mayer, he had the dog, he had Lassie, he had all the children, he had Edmund Gwenn, Santa Claus, he had everything you needed to make a family, right?
Yeah.
He had all those characters.
Oh, I did a picture called Border Incident at MGM.
Ah, and who was in that?
What do you ask me question? I lost my brain.
That sounds like something like Joan Fontaine and Fernando Lamas or somebody.
And Fernando, I worked with him too.
And how about Mario Lanza? Did you work with him when he was at MGM?
I was assistant director, not even a good one, on a thing made for the war, during the war called Wing Victory. Mario Lanza was not Mario Lanza. He was in that group, and he sang for us out over the ocean, but his name was different, not Mario Lanza. It was, oh God. Anyway, but then at MGM, when he came to MGM, I saw him all the time. You know, do you know what happened to him? He made a picture, and they shot it on a location, and he was like this, skinny. They do it, the intercut when he comes into the building is 6 weeks later, and he's like that. And I don't know how the audience, what they must have said. How could it be the same guy that walked?
Now, tell me about the Manchurian Candidate. How that movie happened to come.
Well,
and take your time, because you know Sinatra owns most of that, right?
Yeah, not really.
According to Frankenheimer, he does.
No, that's not true.
Okay.
I don't think he did. The United Artists owns it. Anyway, well, that's the difference.
Okay.
When I got involved with Frank, the first thing he said to me is, Howard, go buy the Manchurian Candidate. Buy it, steal it, get it, because I think that's the picture I got to do. And when we searched and worked the ground, the two guys making it, with Frankenheimer and a writer, they had control of it. So we had to make the deal, and that's how we started the picture. We got them. Frank, UA said, great, and you put yourselves together, and how we started the picture with the two. With Frankenheimer, who was just starting to peak as a great director, and Frank was Frank, you know.
And who decided on Janet?
Frank. We didn't interview a lot of people, and I think she was about the first or the second one that we interviewed. And Frank liked her very much. You know, Frank had even though the directors were there and everything, but Frank had the power. You know, and he said, "I want this one, I want that one." But I must say, Frank was really into this picture. He was crazy about it, and he worked harder than he ever worked in any picture in his life, I think. And we had a scene one night, I think it was a night we shot it when Frank was being had a scene with the
Hold on, I'm getting a lot of voices
Oh, they're
outside.
talking about Frank.
Frank and Larry Harvey were playing the scene just across from the big arena that was you could see through the one where the murder is. You could see through the thing, and we start to roll the camera, and they played the scene, and Frank was really great and everything. It was just wonderful. We couldn't wait to see the film the next day. But what had happened, Frank was soft. In other words, the camera had him soft. You could not really recognize him. So the next day, in the morning, I get a hold of Frank. I said, Frank, we have to reshoot that scene. He said, I only do it once, Howard. I said, Frank, we have no scene if you don't do it. He said, I'm sorry, my contract provides. He said, no. I said, anything you want, Frank, but you're going to have to shoot it or we don't have a movie. He said, all right. And we shot the scene again. But that was the only time in the whole life of the picture that he was ever out of line at all. And I don't know what was bothering that day, but as you know, the picture was a classic. I think the title hurt it because the Manchurian Candidate, a little button you had everybody wearing, what does that mean? Nobody understood what that meant. They didn't understand brainwashing. It was way ahead of its time.
What about the scene with Janet? Can you describe, were you on set?
On the train.
Yeah.
On the train. It was a love scene on a train going very fast, and they looked at each other the first time I think they met, and it started to become a real love scene. You know, the talking and looking and everything. And I don't know if it was a for real life scene, but it was very real to see. And of course, it was very well done. You know? And then it was something that they would be together forever. You know, kind of feeling. You know.
They didn't have many scenes together.
No,
eventually.
very few.
In fact, Janet didn't have many scenes.
No, she worked on the train, and a couple other times that was it. Because it was mostly with the going back and into what had happened. You know, many repeating and coming back again and back and forth. It was all with the men and the soldiers that were brainwashed.
Hold on one second. Frank is gonna.
Well, I'm getting a copy of the Manchurian Candidate in about a week. And you can't use it, but you could use it to to understand what was going on if you want it.
I have a tape of it.
You have, well, if you got it, you're okay then. It's finally being sold, I think, now, and in the big stores that carry all that stuff. I think they're finally selling it.
Well, you know, about 10 years ago, they made a huge to-do of it at the New York Film Festival.
Yeah.
They had an amazing print.
Well, when they broke it out again after all those years,
When you were doing the Manchurian Candidate, were you aware at all of Sinatra wanting to do it because of his close involvement with the Kennedys?
That's something I never heard. I heard it for the first time from you. I don't remember that at all.
Okay.
I think Frank.
Because in Janet's book, they're boogieing all over with the Kennedys. She did all the fundraising here for his presidency.
Yeah.
And now, what do you know about? What was your experience with Tony and Janet?
Well, it wasn't very good. You know, we were on location doing a picture in the Hawaiian Islands, and it was near the end of the picture. Oh, even before that, one night, the leading lady in our picture had had a few drinks and was out around the pool, and this light was hitting her, and it was very sexy. And Tony was looking out, and I was looking out, and everybody was looking out. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, one of the key men working on the picture came running into her room, and this beautiful lady, and tried to grab her, and then he was so drunk that he fell down, and she ran out, and Tony, he ran too. He wasn't hanging around to be a hero, and the police came, and they finally. But I thought Tony would go in and say, "What are you doing here?" But he wasn't looking for any action. And the next day, it was the day that when he got a call from the mainland that his wife had had a miscarriage. And I said to him, well, you got to fly home right away. He said, no, I don't fly. And he didn't go home, and he took a boat home 6 days later. We all couldn't understand that. He's afraid of flying.
When was the first time you ever met Janet Leigh? Do you remember?
Yeah, on the set of No, sorry, my own pictures now. I'd come on the set of Asians in the Outfit. I had seen her casually in the studio, but I never really knew her. And of course, being as attractive as she was, everybody in those days, Ava and all of them, that's all you saw. Everywhere you looked was, was a beautiful lady. And I got to know her on that picture, and she was very kind to me, because the director who was directing the picture was taken ill, and he called me up to his room in the morning. He said, "I can't get up. You direct today." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "You direct today." He said, "You know what the scenes are. Shoot them." Oh God, here I am in what a position. I go down on the set, and I see Janet. I said, "Janet, I don't know what to say, but the director said to me he feels badly, he's sick, and he said he would like me to direct the scenes." He said, "Oh, gee," he hugged me and said, "It's the greatest thing I ever heard." And then I went over to the cameraman, and I told him that I was directing. He said, "I don't take orders from an assistant director." I said, "You're going to today. If not, you're going back to Los Angeles." He said, "You can't talk that way to me." I said, "Yes, I can." And Janet heard it too. And we shot the scenes. For 3 days he was sick, and for 3 days I shot the scenes. And Janet's scenes in a box, and she's a little girl, and so all those things were easy to shoot, and shots into the baseball field. But it was great for me, and I was so glad that she was fighting for me too at the same time. That
She's that kind of a person.